So let's get on to headlines now. There's 2 sessions on headline. If you thought so far it's been a challenging morning, get ready to rumble, okay? So I'm just about to fire up.
Thanks for the warning.
Oh, that's okay. So, how to write sizzling headlines part 1 predominantly is about finding your hook, which is something you have to do. You know, if you go fishing for sharks, you don't go with a little hook, you go with a gaff hook. Most people out there go fishing with a little kiddies line and catch nothing because they don't go through this process. That's the difference. You know, there are a lot of different types of headlines. Now, this section, have you got this session?
Yes. Yeah, we've got it.
You've got it? Okay. So basically, very simple. You know, your hook is simply what it says. It's a unique piece of your sales copy that arouses burning curiosity and forces your reader to read your copy. What is the job of your headline? What is the only one job of your headline?
Catch their attention.
To get them to read the next sentence. That is it. It's an advert for your advertisement. Okay, your headline's job is to hook them in to keep reading. So you've got to spend a lot of time on your headlines. That's why it's basically 4 out of 5, or 80% of your sales come from your headline. There's a lot of business owners out there that run adverts, don't have a headline. They use their logo or their business name. That's not a headline. Logo is not important. You've got to have a compelling, benefit-driven headline that does hook your prospects into you. Now, it calls out to your prospects. If you've profiled your prospects properly, your headline should call out to them and them only, basically. You don't give a toss about anybody else because you're not interested. They're not your client. They're not your subject. They're not your customer. They're not your prospect. You want to find the hook that focuses on your ideal profile customer and that person or those people only. Nobody else. Now, who's had a decent crack at writing headlines in the past? I've written a lot. How have you found the process?
Very difficult. I think, again, it's a struggle defining benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try and get a benefit into the headline. So again, from that point of view, I do struggle. I've never, although I know you should do the discipline that we spoke about yesterday of writing, 50, 100, 250 test case at a time, but I've never really sat down and done that properly.
Well, you will by about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I love that, yeah.
Which is good, but at least you can admit it that you've never done that. And one of the exercises that, what I like to do for people and get them to understand is you start writing your headlines, right? Then you go through and you may look, how can I add one word or one letter or just make one minor change to that headline to make it more powerful? This is where writing them out by hand and doing the 50 as a minimum will get you a cracker of a headline. Now, Ted does 250. That's a disciplined man. But that's why he's so successful.
How many people don't think they have to write 50 headlines? How many think that's a load of twaddle?
Be serious. You all know you have to do it and you should do it. But what if we said you only need to write 20? It's a minimum of 50. Ted does 200, but as he said, it could be the 5th one he goes with.
But you don't know until you...
Well, you don't know, and the thing is, and by doing that amount, 50 is a minimum, 50 to 100 or 250, is you're actually really extracting every last nugget, benefit point into those headlines till you get the one you want to start testing. Now, you may pick one as your best and test it and find out it's not the one. But you've got to do the exercise and then start, split testing your headlines. Diane, one shopping cart. How many pages can you test at once? In other words, the body copy is the same, but can they test 3 headlines at once?
Yeah, it can run, and it will tell you which is more popular, if you like. You can test the number of clicks.
So everyone, do you understand what we're talking about there?
AdWords.
No, well, AdWords will split test, but say you've got your sales letter and you want to test 3 different headlines. So the rest of your body copy is the same, but the software that the Diane's, or the shopping solution that Diane's got, will allow you to test those headlines. So you go to my website, you're going to see headline A, headline B, headline C. And it rotates. And I'll be able to know which headline pulls better.
But I think what Brendan was talking about...
When he said AdWords, AdWords also allows you to do split testing, which is what we're talking about. But what Diana's got is a shopping cart that also allows you to do split testing.
Of your headlines or other parts of your copy.
They are 2 different things. AdWords, yes, it does split testing, but we're talking about complete copy
which we'll
testing.
cover on the last. I don't want to get off on AdWords at this point in time. Okay, but you've got the ability there to test your headlines on your sites. If you're running offline marketing, you want to test your headlines as well. So this is why you've got to write a lot. And as you'll see a little bit later on, some of the examples that we give you that are actual factual examples will blow you away with those minor changes. So your headlines are critical. What's your answer there, Peter? When you find your hook, do you know the best place in your copy to use it? It is in your headline. Yeah. Again, the Ask Database campaign comes up again. Another way of testing various things. You want to see what people respond to. Because the problem is, we've gone through the exercise, you go through the exercise, you profile your customer, you work out your offer, you work out your bullets, you write your headlines. You've then got to test it and see whether your gut instinct, based on the knowledge you've put together with the headline you've picked first, is going to pull better than the other. It could fail. That's why you have to test. He's still a client, but many years ago I got a piece of junk mail on my letterbox, and instead of throwing junk mail away to meet a potential client, so I phoned this guy up. He was very excited to get a phone call because I was the only one out of 20,000 flyers. 20,000. But I could also tell this guy had studied some sort of direct response. He had a crack at it. Okay. 20,000 without testing. Okay. This is what you do. If it's offline, for example, let's say you want to send out 10,000 flyers or 10,000 letters. You don't want to send them all out without testing because, it can cost you a lot of money. So what I would suggest you do, and you could break that down to a smaller number, smaller test, but this is the theory. You would come up with your 2 best headlines that you think are going to pull, and you would send out 500 with headline A and 500 with headline B. The rest of your body copy is the same. The only difference is that headline. Then you gauge your response. Let's say you do that and you get 5 responses there. Headline A pulls in 5 results or 5 sales for you. But headline B pulls in 15. What's the percentage difference there? 300. 3 times as many people. 300% better response from one headline. Now, that 1-page flyer, 1-page letter, whatever the document is, it still cost you the same to print it, hasn't it? If it's on your website, does it cost you to test it? Realistically, no. It still costs you the same. You're buying space. You run an advert, you're buying space. Whether it pulls 0 calls, 1 call, 100 calls, 1,000 calls, you're still buying space. So really I want you to understand that this is how critical your headlines are. So if you did this scenario, right, let's say you sent out 10,000 just with headline A because you thought it was the best one. Or the office clerk or the management thought headline A was the best one. You showed your mate, or you showed your wife, or you showed your husband, and they liked that one. Oh, I'm going to roll it all out. People do this time and time and time again, and they leave money on the table. They say, that didn't work. I'm not going to try that again. It's because they haven't tested. So you do your test, you've still got 9,000 more to go out, haven't you? With that offer. You could split test again, but you're going to get 3 times as much business purely based on testing that headline. Is that pretty clear to you?
When do you know when to stop testing?
You should never stop testing. Okay. What you want to try and do is get to a point where you've got a control. And I'm sure Ted will talk about control pieces this afternoon. In other words, you've got a piece of copy or a headline that you know pulls X amount. What you want to try and do is beat your control. Come up with something better than that control to give, and if you do, you get more responses, more money. You don't want to test like you could test willy-nilly and not actually track your results. How long should you test is a good question. You really depend on what market you're in, what you're trying. Well, if you're in a specific niche, your target market might be too small to test too quickly. In other words, you've got to get a gut feel and see a significant difference to then use that and make that your control piece. What happens if you get 50-50? Then you've got to test again.
Is there a minimum number of tests that you do to make it worthwhile? I mean, 500,000.
I wouldn't do any more than 1,000. I mean, I would do, if it's offline piece, 500 of one, 500 of the other. You could go as low as 200, 250, but it's getting a little bit small that if you saw a 50-50, it's not really a trigger point to work from. You want to test reasonable numbers, but low cost at the same time. So test small. Like say with broadcast fax, you can still do broadcast faxing in Australia and various countries. Don't send out 10,000 because you can. Test first. The key trigger is test and measure. Test, and test again.
Now, there's nobody better than John Rees.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly what he says. Test, and test again.
Never stop, because you get to a control point that's working and making you money. Challenge yourself to do better. Because you know that if you beat your own control, what happens? More sales, more traffic, more conversion, more money. Then try and beat it again.
Give us a good example of a letter that has ran for a long time.
Sorry?
The Wall Street letter.
Wall Street letter.
Yeah.
Are you all familiar with the Wall Street Journal?
Yes.
And the format, the two people scenario, that ran for what, 40
years.
40 years before the control could be beaten. And made, what, billions, I think, in subscriptions?
Billions, yeah.
Mega billions. So, we'll give you an example. You actually get the letter as in one of your handouts, or is it on the CD?
And the samples
As well.
But also you'll see samples that I've written for clients or myself following the model. Because you can apply that yourself. And theoretically, with your sales letter, what you're doing now, that's a good place for your stories to do a Wall Street Journal type model.
Ted actually knows the guy that wrote that letter.
Yeah.
When he gets up, let's ask him
He can talk about it.
give the story.
Okay, so, your hook is critical. And your testing. We've spoken about the Ask Database campaign. Now, this is John Carlton. Who has not heard of John Carlton? Very successful copywriter. Here's his most famous hook, the one-legged golfer. And I'll read it out. Amazing secret discovered by one-legged golfer adds 50 yards to your drives, eliminates hooks and slices, and can slash up to 10 strokes from your game almost overnight. Now, who here plays golf? Okay. Does that raise curiosity? How the hell can that happen? He hasn't told you what the product is, has he? The guy's good at writing hooks. Exceptional. And on the Judgment Day bonus, there's a bonus CD with some other products on there as well. You actually get, is it on there or isn't it? And if it's not, I'll get it to you. A whole section on hooks, which my guest speaker Pete Godfrey spoke about headline hooks during my seminar. It's all about hooks with Carlton. Okay, but you've got to find that hook. You know, you've got that there. Really read it again to yourself and understand that's what a hook is. You've got to find that in your product or your service. Not just attention golfers. Now, there's a couple of words there, and there's one that stands out to me, which I'm not going to point it out to you until after you do the exercise, that makes an even stronger benefit within that headline. It's just one word. Okay. 11 ideas on how you can discover your hook. Could be in your guarantee. Testimonials, you might have a cracking testimonial from a client, which is also a major hook that you can use. My very first copywriting job was for a stock market guy, and actually used a testimonial headline. It had a great hook in there. I think it's on the swipe file that you get. Celebrities, you can use celebrities to create a hook. Be careful if that celebrity goes down or does something that's dodgy, because you might want to swap your headline around. I've used Elvis, I've used Kate Couric, Oprah Winfrey. You know, there's plenty of places you can go to find out who the famous celebs are. Check out your competition. They may already have a compelling hook for you. You can go to book titles. Some great book titles out there. So you're getting a whole snapshot here, but it's in your handout as to where you can go to help try and find your hook. Now, Think and Grow Rich, everybody knows. Scientific Advertising. Eat and Grow Thin is a book title from the public domain. That's a headline I really didn't write, but I wrote it for a client. He's selling his caveman cuisine. Well, how to eat like a caveman. And Eat and Grow Thin, that's what people want. Harasses curiosity. It's a public domain book title. Unfortunately, the domain's already gone, otherwise I'd have grabbed it. Scientific Advertising. So, you know, there's various things. Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's a good hook. But look at your book titles. You can go song titles. Movie titles. You know, Yannick Yusfu's Mission Impossible, Mission Profitable. Don't be afraid to use what's out there. Model it, knock it off.
Trevor, just a little instance going back
To the book titles. I was flying off somewhere and I was in W.H. Smith's or Borders, whatever it was, and I saw this fairly well-known book. I can't say what it is because I'm going to create a product around it.
Yeah.
But I took the title of the book and I changed it into whatever the niche was I'm going to write about.
Yeah.
But it's a famous book, and it just gave me such a great idea.
For you to model from.
Absolutely.
That's what I have done in the past, particularly when I was in America. I haven't found them here. Is I would get the Entrepreneur magazine each month, and I would take the feature story title and grab the domain name. Okay, because whatever that headline was on the front of that cover is generally a hot topic. I'd go and register the domain, but also use that as something to model from for a headline. Model, read, go to bookstores, go to newsagents and look at what's on the shelves. Magazines like National Enquirer, whilst they may be tacky, those people are some of the highest paid copywriters on the planet. All you're seeing So that's your, you're in the bookstore, you're at the supermarket, that's their magazine. Those headlines have got to jump out and force you to start flicking through while you're waiting to get served and then buy the thing. And they're not very long headlines, they haven't got a lot of space. So newsstands, National Enquirer, see what they're using. I've actually got one in my room, I think I'll bring it tomorrow. Television shows, Big Brother, American Idol, The Apprentice. So many things you can use to help you find your hook for your product or your service. There's the reference to Mark's book again. Don't lie. I mean, that statement's pretty obvious there. Don't try and fool your reader. You can have political license in your hook. But if you fool them, and then they go to read your copy or then buy your product or service and you fool them, they're going to ask for a refund. So use some political license like John did with the one-legged golfer to create the hook, to create the curiosity factor, but make sure your product or service can deliver on what you're selling them, on why they bought in the first place. This one here, who's heard of Google Zeitgeist? It used to be, it's not around anymore. What it was a website from Google that had the top 15 searched, basically, words and phrases, generally people, around the globe each week. Now, I picked this tip up from Joe Vitale. So what I would do is I would go to each word, go to the website, see what was said about them, then create my blog article and use those people's names in my blog article. Why would I do that?
Invite people to read it.
You get picked up. Yeah. It was amazing. When I first launched that website, and I mean, Alexa rankings can be a bit of a toss, but within 24 hours, that blog was at 44,000 in Alexa. Because I loaded up about half a dozen articles. Now I've let it slip, but I mean, that's the power of, effectively finding some sort of hook, using people that are in the market. What the new site is this, Google Trends, Hot Trends. It replaced Google Zeitgeist. So you can go there and see what people are searching for, literally every single day. You can go to news websites, see what the stories are, see what the most popular stories are to try and find a hook for your product, your service, or your email. Send an email out with something relevant. I mean, Paris Hilton would be a classic one to do at the moment.
The Spice Girls.
And the Spice Girls, yeah. She could be the scariest Spice, Paris Hilton. But I mean, she's in the news all the time, but even more so now. How could you use her in your hook? Could be the headline hooker or something, but
Is there a problem with copyright on that? On using people's names who are personalities?
no, it's a headline.
Can you do that?
No?
You can adopt anything you wish, within reason.
Within reason, yeah. Okay, if you couldn't do it, why could those people's names be splashed across every newspaper and magazine in the country? Okay.
Because it's in the public's interest, because they're selling a newspaper and you're paying for it.
Yeah.
But you're not paying for this.
No. So use their name to your advantage.
It's the same thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, like what Yannick did, he didn't call it Mission Impossible, Mission Profitable.
Yeah.
Okay. What that hooker's got to do is if they're, and generally you're going to be in a market where you do have competition, you want competition, you've got to stand out. Your product, your service has got to stand out to the people reading your offer. If it doesn't, why shouldn't they go next door and buy Helen's book on the same subject? Like I've used Mike Tyson in headlines before. For people selling, fitness type products and martial arts, etc. Okay.
Wasn't that Nightmare on Your Street?
If you can tie it in,
Yeah.
does it really tie into what you're offering?
Would you have, would it be okay to use Tyson's picture, for example?
No.
No.
Unless you could find it royalty free, no.
Just words. Mention his name.
You can use the name in a headline, but be careful using anyone's picture example.
So if you take the picture yourself, then you own the rights, don't you?
If you take the picture yourself.
No, you don't.
If you have their permission.
But yeah, they've got if you snapshot like paparazzi. No, people have got rights. You've got to have their permission, their approval, or go somewhere where you can buy the rights to use that photograph. I mean, what's it, iStock?
Yes,
iStockphotos.com. Go and have a search there and see what you can and you can't use. If in doubt, check your own legal issues out. We're not lawyers and we don't profess to be, and we can't make those statements, but if in doubt, check. But generally, no. Unless someone's given you permission to use their photograph, you can't use it.
Would you know if iStock has celebrities?
I don't know. The database is extensive. You'd simply need to go and check that out for yourself as to what's there. And a lot of the stuff, there'll be some royalty-free stuff, but if you want to use it, you're going to pay for it.
Not a lot though, it's normally just $1 a shot normally for iStock photo. The low resolution stuff.
For low res, yeah.
Yeah, which is all you want on a website.
Yeah. The thing is it's a tool for you to go and check. The last thing you want to do is put up a website, use someone's photograph and get your what sued.
Cease and desist.
Sorry?
Cease and desist letter.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm for India.
Yes. Okay, we're going to go to lunch soon, so I want a few people to, we'll probably won't get time to everybody to read your hook out. Who wants to start first? John?
How to get all the skilled staff you need without your budget becoming the nightmare on your street. Nightmare on your street.
Want to be different? John Wiggum? Haven't got your hook yet?
No. Okay. The hook, but I haven't got a clue how to write it.
Well, what do you think the hook is?
I think the hook is that from the feedback that I've had, and certainly the testimonials I've had, the hook is exactly what we wanted it to be. It's written by a big sister type. It's nothing heavy. Complaints in the past about this type of hook was that it was very school momish. We've got away from that, and the idea was to have very simple graphics, and we've cracked it with that as well. Graphics are very clear, and that's come through as well. But how the devil you put that into the hook, I've got absolutely no idea.
When you find it, you'll know.
All right.
You just have to keep digging.
Okay.
Yeah. Still a bit cold, you're not lukewarm on it yet, but there's a few things you just said there that there's a hook in there, for sure.
Yeah.
Think about what you just said and some of the things that people wanted. You've got the feedback, so the hook is in there. You've just got to put the words before and after to that, and you'll have your hook.
If you're having trouble finding the hook, I'm getting back to this competitive analysis again. I find that is the best way to find your hook as well. Once you've done your competitive analysis, you see what all the others are doing, and you just say, right, how can I do this better? It's a good brainstorming session.
One of Dan Kennedy's clients, quite some years ago, they were selling ink, or ink cartridges. Now, how many types of ink are there in reality? Hundreds? But ink is ink. Generally, it's made the same way. So this was their headline. Where's the black pen? This was their hook. And it ran, they had 6 months run on their market. We use real ink. That was it. The competitors thought, that's stupid. Everyone knows ink is ink, but the market didn't. The people buying it didn't know that it was synthetic. So then they described their colours, the most vivid reds, the brightest blues, etc., etc. But that was their hook. It was simple. Don't assume, just because this. What did I say yesterday about the little things? Something so simple, something so small that you think, hey, everyone knows that, can turn out to be the gem, could turn out to be the hook for your product or your service. Very simple. They had the market for 6 months. And in scientific advertising, which you've all got, I think, they've got that, Peter?
It's on the resource.
On the resources. There's some classics in there of hooks. Simple stuff that people knew about, competition knew about, but they weren't telling the market. Once they told the market in a certain way, that was the hook, and products just sold a lot. Tested sentences, again, a lot of his stuff is hooks. Back in the oldish days, smoking a pipe was fairly common, right? So this actually happened to Elmer Wheeler. He's gone into a grocery store, and the clerk has nervously said, "Would you like to buy a pipe?" He's gone, "No, thanks." Before he's got out of that grocery store, this is what the clerk's doing. There's my pen. He's doing this. He's tapping the pipe on the counter. Next guy walked in and says, "Is that unbreakable?" He goes, "Yes, sir, I've been doing it all day." That was the hook. The fact that these pipes are strong, you can bash them all day. They won't break. When they changed to that phrase, to that hook, that guy was an instant star overnight. That was the hook without him realising it. It took a customer to ask that question to identify the real marketing perspective of that particular pipe. Does that make sense? You're still a bit puzzled? It's a major benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But it's trying to find my hook on the puzzle about.
Well,
Can I just say something else
As well, we've got the benefit of one of the best direct marketers in the world.
yeah.
Go approach Ted, tell him what your product is, get the ideas from him. He will give you
some
no end
snapshots.
of ideas for finding your hook. That's what he's offered to do. Take advantage, because when this weekend is over, you will never ever have that opportunity again.
You may see him at a seminar with 300 or 400 people. You won't get this opportunity repeated. Well, I was doing some words for a competition for as an iPod and a Nano the other day. And my subject, I think my headline was, your pocket DJ. Because you can store thousands of songs on this thing, so I related that to basically having a DJ in your back pocket. It's a curiosity factor, rather than just call it an iPod Nano. So just think about it. Do you got one? You got a hook?
Well, using what we just said a few minutes ago, this old house can be transformed with amazing new product which makes paint stick to shiny surfaces without sanding, dust, and at low cost.
Okay, so does it stick like super glue?
That's the idea.
Well, there you go. There's a theme for a hook.
Stick it in.
Still like much on a blanket.
Yeah, well, that was my first thought.
No.
I didn't say it. I'm behaving myself this weekend, Peter. Are you proud?
You've only let one slip out so far.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So have you. But the main object sticks. Okay, it sticks and doesn't come off. So maybe weave a super glue angle in there. Not a blanket. Because universally, I know you're selling to a US market, right? When you say super glue, what comes into your mind? You can get glue, or what does super glue do?
Really makes it stick.
Yeah. You don't want to get super glue, you don't want to get your fingers stuck together. It's like yellow highlighter. It's almost an instant recognition around the globe when you say super glue.
Is it a generic term?
Super glue,
Yeah, or a patent?
you'd have to look. It's a trademark.
I think it's a Loctite trademark.
So it's depending on your wording. Okay.
Because it has two words.
You could get around it, I think. Diane got a hook?
No, Diane hasn't. You're going
No lunch for you, Diane.
I thought it might be something along the lines of not only will we hold your hand or be by your side as you make your first dime online, we'll even do it for you. So I wonder if that's where I should go with it.
Can you say that again, please?
I'm trying to include the A and B, and so not only will we hold your hand or be by your side as you set up, is A.
Okay. So do your hook on your B offer.
Only on the B.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they have a choice what they're going to buy from you, what service they go for, but you ultimately want them to take your dearer offer. Therefore, that's going to have your most major benefits in with that package, correct?
Yeah.
So therefore, put your hook on that thing. Miranda.
I wrote them as headlines to be developed, but one I think I like is Who Moved the Estate Agent?
Sorry?
Who moved the estate agent?
Home of the estate agent.
Who moved?
Who moved?
Yeah.
That's a play on who moved.
Oh, jeez, yeah. It's not
But it
bad.
needs a bit more.
Yeah, but it's got
On the
some
back
potential.
lines.
It's got some potential. That's good. You've thought the creativity, the thought process there is good. James, anything?
Yeah, struggling a bit with this one. I haven't got anything written out in terms of a headline or anything like that, but I'm trying to take the angle of the fact that you don't need to work 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, and that you don't have to live in a world of mountain debt with interest rates going up every month at the moment. And, you don't have to spend your time sitting in traffic and then retire with a pension that ain't going to sustain you. I'm trying to take that sort of angle. And also the angle that people are out there doing this now and that you could join them doing it. Trying to take it from that point of view. It's generally curiosity, I think, is what's going to get people interested in this, just to get them thinking, there is another way for them to do things. Maybe bosses, they've got bosses who they can't stand do none of the work but take all the glory, things like that.
The blood, sweat and tears, yeah, okay. That'll help you for the next session.
I've summarised it as simple dietary measures protect your mental and physical health without prescription drugs.
Okay.
So foods that protect mental and physical health.
And these are public domain stuff, though, aren't they?
Well, I could extract what you can regard as timeless secrets and use modern science to say why. Like a granny's old recipe. It's just something they did that seems to work. You can say the how and the why.
Okay.
It's
not quite a hook yet,
Not
but
quite,
you're getting there. Helen?
Get your existing skills and knowledge making money for you, not others. These tried and tested techniques that will enable you effortlessly and without risk to be the next female tycoon. Because that's in there.
I'd be slipping men in there somewhere into your hook.
Would you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though it's geared towards women.
Yeah. Because they can relate to it.
Okay.
They can trigger. They'll understand the whole process. How to succeed in a man's world isn't easy, effectively, in corporate. It's not being sexist, that's what's happened. So use the agitation of men in that hook there somewhere.
Okay.
Anyone else want to read out the hook with what they've done so far?
It's now revealed that secret agents use this method to be able to speak foreign languages in days before going behind enemy lines.
What was that, sorry?
All of it.
Yeah, sorry.
It's now revealed that secret agents use this method to be able to speak foreign languages in days before going behind enemy lines.
So, you asked me before on the secret agents. Maybe could you tie in, what's his name? Get Smart. Get Smart TV theme into that somewhere. Inspector Gadget.
James Bond.
James Bond. But who's your main market here? Which US?
Yeah.
Okay, so try and relate something that's universally known. If it's more known in the US, it's going to pull better.
Right.
But yeah, if you know that's a known fact, weave it in. That'll create some curiosity.
Yeah.
Good. Richard?
I've got Rich man lets slip his secret path to wealth and blasts you out of debt with as much wealth as you want.
Is that believable? Is that really?
Probably.
Is it really a hook?
From my point of view, it is. What about yours? Is it not believable?
Say it again for me slowly, please.
Rich man lets slip his secret path to wealth and blasts you out of debt. Is that where it's going wrong? I feel there.
I think the last bit is just lets it fall down.
Yeah. Well, it needs
Okay,
work.
so obviously it needs some work, but you can come up with a hook there, but you need a bit more grunt in there. A reason to jump on your hook and keep reading. Anybody else hasn't read theirs out? I think we'll wrap it up, Peter.
Yeah, overall though, a lot of the hooks that I've listened to there are not really hooks because there's nothing unique. You've got to offer something that nobody else is offering. It is hard. Yeah, it's not
By the
easy.
time you've done your headline section, it should be a lot easier for you, but you really got to think about why you're different.
But we have a secret weapon, don't we, this weekend?
We do.
And you should use it.
That's 6 numbers.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
Put a start on it.
The second one that I have is for comment. Painting contractor's secret weapon makes paint or varnish stick like super glue to shiny surfaces without sanding or dust.
Could you say it again, sorry?
Painting contractor's secret weapon makes paint or varnish stick like super glue to shiny surfaces without sanding or dust or mess.
It's starting to get there. You've just got to make it stand out.
You have a product which is paint that sticks to shiny surfaces.
Paint stick.
Yeah. Nobody else has that product. That's your hook.
Yeah.
The product itself.
Secret revealed, one coat non-stick for life.
You just have to find the right words to describe your product. But
Apart
that
from
is
the sticking
definitely your
factor,
hook.
Does it cut your time down as well?
Yeah.
Dramatically.
Okay.
Time saver.
Dragon's Den, I reckon.
You've got to get some grunt into that hook. It's got to stand out. So really think about it for the next session because you really got to have some sort of hook. Okay? Don't think about it from your perspective, think about it from your prospect's perspective. Why is it and why are you so different? Okay. Any final questions before we break? Apart from the obvious that it is difficult. But you've got to think outside the square. Why is your product or your service unique? What is unique about it? If you can get it anywhere, they may go anywhere to get it. You've got to stand it out. A lot of people don't have a headline in their marketing. You take a typical business owner, or go to the yellow pages and have a look, they haven't got headlines. They're leaving money on the table, serious money on the table. So the next one is your headline is an advertisement for your advertisement. That's it. Your headline's got to sell the rest of your copy to sell your product. That's why it's so critical to getting it right, getting it the best that you can. Don't be lame there. You've really got to work on your headline. The longest I've spent on one headline is 5 hours. Many, many years ago. Till I was happy with the final headline. Like I'd written my headlines out, then I was fine-tuning that headline for about 5 hours. Still gets used today. Your headline's job is to what? Hook your reader into wanting to find out more. You've gone fishing, the headline hooks them, you've got to start to reel them in and keep them there. The next one's fairly simple. If your product or service, doesn't matter how good it is, if your headline is lame, your ad or sales letter won't get read. You can't have a lame headline. Click, off, rip, bin.
And that's why we write 50 plus.
Exactly. So you do a minimum 50. And as we say there, you know, there's some dramatic responses which we'll get to a bit later on. I've got some basic rules for writing headlines. We've already discovered or covered some of these already. But your headline must appeal to your reader's self-interest. In other words, the what's in it for me. Your headline has got to answer that question. If you don't answer it, somebody else will. And that'll be your competition. Rule number 2. Your headline must reach out to your prospect, grab them by the throat, as though you're saying, hey, I'm talking to you. If you walk down the street and you hear someone yell out, hey, you, generally people will spin around because they think you may be talking to them. You copy, your headline's got to do the same. And it's got to be clear and understandable. Again, they've got to know what it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, but it's got curiosity at the same time. Don't use big words in the headline again, you're going to lose them on the spot. You've got news. Announcing the new board cure guaranteed to make Trevor Cook look like he's got a full crop of hair. I'd want to buy that product. Rule number 5, do not be cute or clever. That's where the sex type headline comes in. It does not work. Generally it doesn't work because it's hard to tie, unless you're actually selling a sex type product or, you know, some sort of device. It doesn't work. Don't get cute, don't get clever. You may compel people to read your headline, click on your website, but then when you are cute or clever, they click off. Okay, very rarely would you use that type of thing. We spoke before about celebrities. Now, a public relations company might run an advert, how to get more exposure for your business than Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl. Now, how many years ago was that? 4, 5 years ago? Okay, it's still known today, so you can tie it in. Or there's the example, how to get more exposure for your business than Janet Jackson's left breast at the Super Bowl. It's celebrity, it's a known thing. Still, all these years later, it's still relevant. But that's using a celebrity. Rule number 7, be specific in your headlines. Don't use generalities, which are what most of you have been doing that to this point. You're general in your headlines, you're not specific. Spell out the specifics and the benefits in your headline with your hook. We basically did Rule 8 before about testing, where I showed you the 500 this, 500 of that, and getting different results. Now once you, in your box, where's my pen? To write this, and I know a couple of you know this, so for the ones that don't, please don't spoil it. Write this. I'm changing this from the actual example. Put romance in your life. Call Peter now. On whatever the phone number is. You know the number.
That's how many times I've been.
Okay. What this is an example of a lead generation advert. I've changed one word, and I'll tell you the exact word later. But that's a very simple response mechanism. Lead generation is a headline with a call to action response. Here's the next step. Call Peter now and you put your phone number. Or it could be go to your website. Call a toll-free number. So have you written that in your box?
No, exactly that.
Yeah? Okay. I want you to write, put romance in your life. then go to the next page where it says advert B and write the exact same thing out again. Have you all done that? For those of you who don't know, try and answer this. How can I make one change to advert B, one small change, in actual fact one single letter, and change the statement, change the headline into a benefit?
Caps.
No, you should never use all capitals in a headline, always up and lowercase.
Could you just say the question again, Trevor? Sorry.
I want you to think of how you can make one small change. In this case, not even one word. Add one single letter to the headline and change the meaning.
The S on the end of put.
Sorry?
An S on the end of put.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you think that would work?
It's a statement.
Because somebody's doing it for you, or
It's
you're not doing it yourself.
It's a definite
It's a valid statement. It's something you can do easier.
Yeah. Basically, when you put romance in your life, you've actually got to take action to get the desired result. If it's done for you, as it puts romance in your life, it's the implication it's done for you. You simply make the phone call. That's a benefit. First one means you've got to get off your backside to take action to get the desired result. This one implies it's done for you. Now the actual advert, the real word is this. The real test was music. Put music in your life, and it was one of Dan Kennedy's clients. It's not mine. I can't take the claim to fame for it. They were offering guitar lessons, so they ran their advert, lead generation advert, in the correct section of the paper they were advertising, and then they decided to test. And they tested that one. Anyone want to guess what the percentage increase was for B over A?
100 times.
100 times? Better?
600.
300. 3 times as many people, 300% increase in response by one single solitary letter S. And when Peter mentioned before about eliminates, not eliminate your hook, eliminates hooks and slices. There are quite a few words that you can simply look at and say, can I add an S to that and change the meaning? Does that make sense? I mean, because all you are buying again is space. That ad costs the same to run as opposed to that ad, correct? Didn't cost any more money. Took up the same amount of space. And what you would do to that headline as well is do this. You'd put quotation marks around your headline. Quotation marks has long been proven to actually increase your response just by doing quotation marks around your headline. You know, at least test it on your own. Take your own headlines that you've written yourself, put some quotation marks around it, and it does. It looks different. It's like someone's quoted that comment, that statement. So, advert B pulled 300% more response by adding just one single letter. So fill in your blanks for that. So the next one is by adding an S, change the headline into a benefit as it implies it is done for you. So let's think of some words. What other words could you possibly add the letter S to?
Mike?
Improves.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll make a list. So we got make to makes, correct?
Yeah.
Stop. Stops.
Improves. Or improves.
Improve to improves, yeah.
Reduce.
Okay, make a list of these yourself on your paper. I'm not going to write them all out. Okay?
Attract.
Yeah, right. Attract. Yeah, it may, depending on how you do it. But the general ones, you know, make to makes, stop, gives, give to gives, eliminate to eliminates, remove to removes. So make a list of the words yourself and just bear that in mind when you're writing your own headline or even subheads. Can I make a one minor change to get a better result? Can I change the meaning by that one simple little exercise? Take to takes. Martin Avis with his total time management book, his headline was, we have take. No, it was control was his first word. Like this is control your time management. I've added an S to it. Controls. So look at it, you know, start looking at your stuff from that way, or how can you make this one minor change? Because when we say and we tell you the type of results people get from increasing their, their response, a lot of it's down to simple stuff like that. Changing a headline, adding a word here, maybe deleting a word, adding a couple of words. The important factor is this is why you want to write your 50 plus headlines.
So would you, if you, for example, wanted to just, in your 50 headlines, if you changed a make to a makes, would you count that as two separate headlines? You would, yes.
Yeah. I mean, generally you'd try and start off writing makes to begin with.
Yes.
But, you know, you write them out and go, how can I improve that? Right. Or can I put an extra word in here? Can I change that word? Can I change that word with 2 words to make it more powerful? Can I change learn to discover? Can I put revealed in front of my headline to make it more powerful? Exposed, you know? Instead of being secrets, it could be the insider secrets. Various things you can do there. So yeah, upper and lower case, don't use all capitals. The only time I use all capitals in my headline is the word you. I would generally capitalise it and put an underline below it. Your, not every time, but a lot of the time. If I'm using the word without, I capitalise it and I do italics and underline it. It just stands out. But generally, upper and lower case, it's hard to read all capitals. Despite what you see in a lot of press, a lot of media, print-wise, do not use blocks or capitals. And again, Rule 11's, write at least 50 headlines. Don't be lazy. Do not do it on your laptop or on your computer. Do it by hand. The process comes out. With your the exercise yesterday, writing the letter to your loved one, if you'd done that on your computer, do you think it would have been the same?
No, it doesn't have the same emotional impact, does it?
No. Doesn't at all. That's why you do it by hand. And very simple, number 12, the single most critical job of your headline is to get your next sentence read. You know, you can't afford to bore your prospects at all, particularly online. You know, we've discussed it, you know it yourself, how quickly you click off a website or delete an email. And it happens to you just the same. So you've got to do the most compelling, persuasive, sizzling headline that you can that has your hook in it and compels and forces that prospect, website visitor, offline, whatever, to keep reading. You have to do it. That's the reprint article from the newspaper, which you can read in your own time. True or false, you should always write your headline first.
False.
Yeah, you all know that now. Okay, I'm picking someone to Helen. I know you're writing. Who's got a deep voice? I wasn't meaning you. Apart from me, I should say. Chris.
Okay.
Can you read it there, or you've got it on your thing?
Okay.
Maybe just read it. Read out the great headline ingredient by Clyde Bedell.
The eye of your prospects is ever flitting, serving as a selective switchboard, seeking with intensive discrimination because no one has time for all those ads, or just a few to read that are pertinent and vital to the prospect. Your art and your headline must therefore be selecting of precisely right prospects, or they will never know you are seeking to interest them. Your art and your headline should proclaim fast, instantly, what is of greatest interest in your proposition to your specific prospects, or you won't get past the switchboard.
That was written, how old was Clyde Bedell? Thanks.
About the 1930s. In
Yeah.
fact, there are examples of his work in
They're out the back,
there.
you know.
Please go and have a look, because his work is really extraordinary.
Basically, the switchboard's the eyes. Blink, I'm gone. You've got to seriously nail your headlines. You know, I've given you some examples there of various comments by, you know, the legends of direct response copywriting on the importance of headlines. You know, I love this one from Caples. I spend hours on headlines, days if necessary. And when I get a good headline, I know that my task is nearly finished. Writing the copy can usually be done in a short time if necessary. The advertisement will be a good one. That is, if the headline is really, I think it should be showstopper. I've cut and pasted that and I've deleted the word. But this one's, I wonder who said that, Ted Nicholas. When you're assigned to write an ad, write lots of headlines first. If you can come up with a good headline, you're almost sure to have a good ad. But even the greatest writer can't save an ad with a poor headline, or a sales letter with a poor headline. If you go to that part of your module, which is on, sorry?
Page 47.
Page 47. This is really going to ram it home for you. Again, it's one of Dan Kennedy's clients. Now, Dan didn't write these, his client wrote them himself. He's a chiropractor. So what you've got, the three examples, should get them on screen. There. The Dr. Nelson tested running lead generation adverts. Now, pretty much within reason, they're all exactly the same size. If you read them out, example A says, free report. Do you make these mistakes when treating your migraine headaches? Then there's the call to action. Example B, free report. They all laugh when I called a chiropractor until my migraine headaches went away. Again, the same call to action. Example C, free report. Who else wants migraine headache relief? Now, who's had a headache in their life? Okay. Which one of those three do you think pulled the best response?
The middle one?
Yeah?
No, that's one.
C.
Write down your answer. So anywhere, just write it down. Right. Who said... Who said C? Put your hand up if you said C was the best one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 12. Are you right? Are you wrong? Who said B? 2, 3. Who said A? 2. Okay. Why did you pick A? What made you think A would be the best?
It's from the point of view of, I mean, I never had migraine, but I've had headaches. From my point of view, I always try and treat it. That just appealed to me more. The others were, I don't know if that's more the marketer in me coming out thinking the others are a little bit, you know, for me, they all laugh on called the chiropractor. That doesn't appeal to me.
Does nothing for you, yeah.
And the who else headline, I think, is overused an awful lot now. For me, just that.
Okay, dangerous assumption on the overuse, and like Peter doesn't like that they all laughed because it does get used a lot. But if you still write that sort of formula well, you can still use it. It still gets used because it works. Okay, so don't be afraid to try those on a market, particularly when they're not exposed to this themselves at the same time. Richard, why did you pick A?
It was, I was more interested in finding out why, if I was making any mistakes than the rest of the other two. That's just a personal choice though.
Okay.
I wasn't picking it because I thought it was a better headline. It just got me.
Okay, that's fine. And who was on the B? Why did you pick B?
Curiosity. What can a chiropractor do for me? And the others seem to suggest relief of a particular headache, where this one was a more lasting solution.
Yeah.
There's quite a mystery to it.
Good answer, yeah. And for the people that picked C, a couple of people, why did you pick C?
If you've got a bad headache, you want a cure. You want relief.
No, you said two different things there.
Cure or relief? Same as relief.
No, relief is not gone away.
Well,
it dulls your ache.
Yes, it makes it more manageable if you like, but the implication there is you're going to be your headache's going to be a lot better.
Okay, well I'll give you the answer. Okay. C got no responses. Okay, because if you've got a headache in theory, I know what you're saying, but the implication is it's only relief. It doesn't imply it's actually gone. Your headache hasn't gone away. Okay, so you've got to be careful in your marketing. These are the trigger points, these minor differences. In all theory, they're all fairly similar, aren't they? They were pretty much saying a similar theme. A got 5 responses. Now, to be mathematical, you have to at least give C 1, but A outpulled C 5-fold, 5 times, 500% on testing an advert which cost the same to run. It's fairly impressive, isn't it? B 17 times. Percentage-wise, that's 1,700% increase in response from testing a headline. It's not bad, is it? It's pretty darn good. Okay, and you've got to be careful as well that you don't make a dangerous assumption, in this case, that relief is really what they're after. They want the thing to go away, which is what this one says.
If you profile and you target the audience, I suffer from migraine, so that would appeal to me if I could find a way of finding an alternative way of dealing with it.
Yeah, it's hit the nail on the head basically as to how to solve your problem. Now, is it what do chiropractors do? I mean, they're bone crunchers, they fix all parts of your body, don't they?
They do toes.
Sorry?
They do tones.
They do it sounds like more than I realise.
They do a lot of things, but in his marketing, did he choose to target everybody? He targeted migraine sufferers.
But presumably you could then pick lots of other things and...
Yeah, you could target different parts of the body with different adverts and only call out to them and don't give a rat's about the back sufferers at this point in time, or the people with tennis elbow or, you know, whatever injury they may have. He specifically targeted migraine sufferers knowing he could get a result. What you don't know at this point in time, unless you've read forward, is he had not even written his free report when he ran the ads.
The fact is, Trevor, you can't
sell prevention, you can only sell cures.
Yeah, prevention's a hard one to sell. But, you know, after doing his testing, he could theme his report around migraine headaches going away. Can you apply that to your product or service? How can you test that to find out what they want, not what you assume they want, even though all the three meanings are very similar?
So, if he didn't do his reports and he put this out, what did he do for the responses when people were calling him, asking him, sending him email? What did he do?
He didn't take the calls. It's a toll-free number, 24-hour toll-free recorded message. The reason...
So they wouldn't get anything?
Well, he then wrote the report and sent it out.
Oh, okay.
He spat the report out quickly and sent it out. So, I mean, the reason toll-free numbers work exceptionally well, particularly 24-hour toll-free numbers, is because if you run an advert, lead generation advert, driving people to a toll-free message, that person, he or she, can ring up 24 hours a day, not feel as though there's going to be no live salesperson trying to pitch to them. They can listen to the message. If they like the message, leave the details. If they don't, they can click off. That's how I used to do all my direct mail in Australia. Lead generation ads to a toll-free number. I actually had about 5 toll-free numbers for different ads. And about 90% of people left the details who responded to the ads. In other words, they're putting their hand up, asking for my report, giving me permission to sell to them, not me cold call them.
Does that work successfully here?
Works anywhere. You know yourself. If you're going to respond to an ad, if you had to ring up for anything, and you knew you could speak to somebody who's going to try and pitch you, we could ring up and talk, literally listen to a toll-free message and leave you details. Which one are you going to choose?
Probably second one. For many reasons.
Yeah, so you can get a free report, but I've got to ring up and speak to a live salesperson. They're going to try and sell me over the phone. The other side, it can be 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be 11 o'clock, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. It's 24-hour toll-free. And what I used to find was I got most of my calls between about 8 or 9 o'clock at night to about 2 o'clock in the morning. Because people would come home from work, kids are in bed, sit down, read the newspaper, bang.
What sort of a device did you use? How did they speak into it, or was it a recording or what?
Well, I don't know how it works over here, but basically it was with one of the major telecommunication companies in Australia. We got the toll-free number. I had a company in Sydney that actually had all the software. So they would just dial my number. I'd pre-recorded the message. They would listen. Again, the message is scripted with benefits. They'd leave the details. And the system actually tracked their telephone number as well. So I didn't have to ask them for their telephone number. They would simply listen to the message, leave the details. I would dial, then extract my message and send the report out. So I don't know what's available over here, but simply look for toll-free recorded message services. You could also, maybe not so much toll-free, but you could use Skype in these days. You're familiar with Skype in, not Skype out? You can set up 14 different numbers. They're very cheap as well. Various countries, but I've got a US number, UK number, Australian number. Have you got Skype? Yeah. It's about $4.12 a month for a number. I think it's around £30 for 12 months. You can do your own message on there. It's not free, but it's not a bad place to start to save some money and at least get a toll-free, at least get a recorded message happening. But again, that message has got to be benefits. Give them a reason, hook them in further, create some curiosity. To get the rest of the details, they've got to ask for your information. Or you could be selling a product and you make, effectively, rather than a free report, your recorded message is effectively a sales pitch. There's plenty of ways you can do that. We'll cover a little bit more on Sunday. So you can know that advert A got 5 responses, advert B got 17, advert C got 0. Advert B pulled a 1700% better response. I got it wrong, sorry. Advert B pulled a 1700% response better than C. Advert A pulled a 500% better response than advert C. And advert B pulled a 350% better response than advert A. And again, it all costs the same. It took a little bit of patience, though, to run the adverts and test them. Is that fairly clear? There's a whole variety of headlines. A lot of them you'd be familiar with. You know, news type headlines, guarantee headlines. I'm not going to read all these headlines out. You've got guarantees, how-to headlines now. That figure of 7,000 book titles is probably 70,000 now. Peter, would you think?
Probably.
You know, that's been around for a long time, that quote. But if ever you get stuck on a headline, if you can stick how-to in front of it, you will increase your response. Because people want information. They want to know how to do something. It's the information age. So just have a look at some of those headlines, the examples. Now the first one, at last, a toothpaste kids will love. A lot of children hate toothpaste. They don't like it. Is that a hook? Yeah. Next one, new diet burns off more fat than if you ran 98 kilometres a week. Wow, how do I do that? How many diets are out there? Yeah, so many of them. Your guarantee headline basically states a desirable benefit and guarantees other benefits. So if you've got a powerful guarantee, let them know and state it in your headline. I'll just read the second one. Hands that feel as smooth as silk in 24 hours or double your money back. Now, for the people out there that are into keeping their skin smooth, that implies a fairly major benefit. How to win friends and influence people. You've seen that one before. Okay. Very powerful headline. How to avoid snake oil selling scumbags on the internet. Stay tuned for that website. And a benefit headline. As we said before, benefits sell, features do not sell your product or service. But you've got to know your market and do your homework, do your research, do your analysis, do your profiling. Dry up your hay fever in 15 minutes. Stops diarrhea in 30 minutes. All benefits. Cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth. They're not long headlines, are they? They're short. But they pack the punch, which is what you want to do. Question headlines. I see a lot of people use question headlines. It's the one headline where you can stuff the rest of your copy up very quickly. Because unless you can actually answer that question very quickly in your copy, strike, you're out. They're not easy to do. So I would suggest that you try to stay clear from question headlines until you really know what you're doing. I mean, this is a proven one. Do you make these mistakes in English? Who knows what the key word is there? What's the key word on that headline? It never used to be worded that way.
You.
No?
Mistakes.
These, yeah. These is the key word. But he does explain it very quickly. It alludes to the fact they are common known mistakes. So these means, yeah, I must be already making these mistakes. I must read on to find out what they are. How do I solve them?
Puts the reader into reading the copy because they want to know what these mistakes are.
Yeah, and how to fix them.
Not simply do you make mistakes. That doesn't say anything. It's being very specific, isn't it?
Not being general. Reasons why headlines, 37 fun and easy ways to earn $500 in your sleep. How do I do that? If I'm looking at that, if I'm interested in that. Put a number in there, it's specific, it's believable. Invokes curiosity, what are the 37 fun and easy ways? Testimonial headline. There's two examples there. One's pretty much an extension of the reason why. The second one, I had never purchased a share in my life. I opened a share account with $14,000 after attending the Trading Edge workshop. In 6 months, my account is over $21,000. That's an actual testimonial from David's client. Why would that work? Why do you think that may have worked?
Because it's believable, very believable.
Yeah. Okay. First bit. I had never purchased a share in my life. In other words, I'm a total novice at the stock market. Okay, that's the first part. Says what he opened the account with $14,000 after attending a workshop. And 6 months later, it was over $21,000. That's over 50% increase in 6 months. There's a major benefit there. And the fact is, the person reading that, regardless of their experience in the stock market, knows, hey, this guy's a complete novice, never bought a share in his life, but suddenly 6 months later he's doubled his money. And you've got command headlines. These two here. Stop wasting time on advertising guesswork. Stop being an advertising victim. They're actually pre-heads on Dean Kennedy's magnetic marketing sales toolkit. And then he goes into his real hook with his headline. Now, many years ago in Australia, I used that one, stop wasting time on advertising guesswork, as the subhead on an advert to run in a major newspaper. They refused to run my advert. It actually went legal to the point of their legal department. Why do you think they didn't not want me to run the ad?
So didn't want you to put other advertisers off?
They thought they'd lose business.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
First question you're going to ask is, am I getting it right? I'm advertising in that publication, am I getting it right?
Yeah, they got very, very narky. I actually sent them through my report. And I said, hey guys, if I can actually teach your current customers, your people are putting adverts in here to get better response with their marketing and the dollars they put into your newspaper, they're going to continue and spend more money with you. No, they don't care. I said it went on for quite a while. And they basically wrote back and said, I'm the small guy there. It's David versus Goliath. We do not want our paying customers knowing what you can tell them. So then I needled it about 3 months later, stirred them again with the Yellow Pages advert because the Yellow Pages was closing, so I was targeting Yellow Page readers, and I really stuck it to them this time, knowing it would go legal again. And I had my backup. I had the problem agitation advert, and I had the nice one over here. I knew that would be the only one I could run. But I sent the other one in, same thing. We've got to protect our fellow media. This is what you're up against. Okay, this is what your customers are up against. They don't want you to know what you guys already know now. Because what happens is, if you heard the statement, it's generally said at big seminars, but only 50% of advertising works. If only we knew it's 50%. You've heard that? With what we do, you can work it out to the last cent, the last penny. but they don't want you to know about it. I used to consult to one of my last finance jobs, to an advertising agency in Australia. Some very, very major accounts. It's all done with smokes and mirrors. Because they'll say, let's do some TV, do some radio, do some press, and obviously now the internet. Corporations, but this is one thing they get right. They profile, understand their customers to stroke their customers' ego with their logo and their corporate image and branding and all that other rot. Now, unless you've got McDonald's budget for marketing, or BMWs or Mercedes-Benz, you've got no chance to get your actual brand or logo or business name out there, other than the major benefit people get from doing business with you. Your name means diddly squat, means nothing. Okay? So, you know, think about that. They don't want you to know. So as in this advertising agency's case, they knew one thing would work, and their client, which one? They couldn't tell you. All they are concerned about is getting their pencil awards at a different place for their pencils. 3 most powerful words, and you know, this is a little bit, be selective on using free though. You know, free, you and your. I still like you personally as my pick for the best thing to use in a headline. Again, it's talking direct from me to you. I could write an advert which is general and speaks to everybody in the room, but you want me talking to you, or Peter talking to you, or vice versa. The fact that you all read it doesn't matter. I want you to read my copy, or vice versa if I'm reading your copy, as though you are talking directly to me. Nobody else. If there's 1 million people in the room, it doesn't matter. I want you and your copy to talk to me. That's what your copy has to do. Also, your headline's got to do that. Now here's a checklist that you're going to go through because you're about to start writing your headlines. Does your headline communicate the strongest customer benefit? Does your headline answer the question, what's in it for me? Does your headline offer a reward for reading the ad? Is it clear and direct? Does it communicate a complete message, not half a message? Is your headline getting attention with a powerful sales message? Does it motivate your prospect to keep reading? You know, like if they don't keep reading, you've failed. Don't go any further. Go back and work on your headline. And is your headline speaking directly to your target, to your prospect? Is your headline interesting to your prospects, or does it bore them? If it's not specific and doesn't arouse curiosity, it will bore them. They will leave. They will not read the rest of your copy based on your headline. And finally, is your headline an advert for an advert? Now, do you know what that really means? Could you take, out of paper, could you take your headline, your best headline, and run it as a lead generation advert? In other words, the best headline you come up with today, could you go onto Google, could you go to a newspaper tomorrow and simply run an advert with that headline and a call to action? Would it pull? If it's not going to pull, your headline's failed. Make sense, that one?
What do you mean? Has it got enough information? Is it?
Can it stand alone? Is it an advert for your advertisement or for your sales letter? In other words, is that selling the person to take the next step?
Yeah.
If it's not, you haven't written the best headline. So, Diane, did you say you'd watched Walk the Line again the other day? Mm-hmm. You're all familiar with the movie Walk the Line? Haven't seen it? Who has seen it? Okay. What happens, Peter and Diane, when early on in the movie he gets the chance with his band to record to make a record, to sing for the record producer. What happens?
He goes into Sun Studios and he performs with his band a gospel track, which is quite dull and boring to the producer, Sam Phillips. And he said, "Is that the best you've got?" And he basically said at that time, "Well, yeah." And he told him he records only music that sells, and gospel don't sell, so on your bike. And he said to him, "Well, what sells?" And he said, "Do you know the line? You want to finish it?"
You don't well.
And he said to him that what sells is something sung from the heart, something with passion, something that if you were hit by a truck when you stepped outside the studio and you'd one last song to perform, that this world would be reminded that you had been here, would you sing that song, the gospel track? And the answer, of course, was, "Well, no. Here's a song I wrote when I was..."
Also in prison.
Yeah. And which his band had never heard before, but they managed to join in. And that was the start of Johnny Cash's career.
And the thing is, thanks for that, the thing is, everybody was doing gospel songs at the time. What's the theme there? You know, like, and that scenario, I think Gary Halbert's where I first heard the whole, death scenario. In other words, if one of your family members was being held hostage now, right, unless your next headline / advert or piece of copy pulled exceptionally well, they would be killed. They would literally have their head sliced off. Would you run that mail piece? Would you run that headline? Would you run your sales copy? If it failed, your loved one that you wrote the letter for yesterday is gone dead. It's a harsh analogy, but that's the fact, and that's what was in the movie. I saw that. I was on the plane actually coming from Australia to London when I first saw that. And I wrote a full article on my blog, which you can read. It's on the trevorcrookblog.com. And you can read it, and it's just so true. He's strumming along doing his boring gospel song because everybody else was doing it. He hadn't sung from the heart. Does anyone not get that message there? Because it's a powerful one to remember. Ask yourself the question about your loved one and see if it scares the you-know-what out of you. It's hypothetical, but I bet you don't run the copy you've written so far. Okay? So, you've got some examples there on some headlines. You could skim through and use some of these to model from if you like. Just want to get one up if it's here. Warning builders, right? This guy was actually a dentist and he phones me up about 2 days before I was going to the World Internet Summit and wanted me to write some copy for him. I actually wrote him some adverts, but then I wrote a 2-page letter and a 1-page letter for broadcast facts. He passed the job over to his offsider, sent me through the details of what they wanted. Now the client wanted a brochure style, typical boring and you-know-what type of advert pamphlet written. I said to him, "Mate, I'm not going to do that. You're not paying me to do what you want. You're paying me to get results. And if you want it that way, I'm not going to do the job. I'm giving you money back." So he understood where I was coming from. I wrote the copy, sent it through about 1:15 in the morning, and I hadn't even packed to go to Sydney, and I had to get up at 4:30 to get to the airport. I get upstairs and my phone rings. I thought either the security company's telling me the alarm's gone off in the building or it's my client. And it was my client. I thought, I'm not going there this time of night. He'll really find out what toe cracker means. So I let it go. I get to Sydney, get off the plane, get into the taxi, turn the phone on, ring so-and-so. So I ring up. He starts getting narky. He said, "Look, let me get to the hotel and we'll sort this one out." I get to the hotel, I ring him up. We head-butted on the phone and went 3 rounds. I won. I said, "Mate, it's my way or the highway. I'm guaranteeing the copy. If If it doesn't work, you're getting your money back. I said, humour me and at least run it. Now, he didn't test. He went straight out for 10,000 faxes, which wasn't a lot of money. It cost it was 15 cents a pop, so 1,500 Aussie dollars it cost him to do 10,000 instead of doing a test. Now, read the headline. See if there's a hook in there, or several hooks. Warning builders. He's targeting builders with a security device. At last, a revolutionary new security system for builders that is designed to minimise theft and vandalism from building sites. 100% portable. Can be installed in less than 10 minutes. Requires no cabling, no power, no phone lines. Gives you 24-hour, 7-day per week monitoring for free, using the latest technology that instantly reports to your mobile phone, backed up by a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. That's longer than Ted's 17 words. It's really a headline with a sub. But there's major hooks in there. They don't even know what it is. Okay? It's a new security, revolutionary new system. Okay? Minimise theft and vandalism. Now, builders get their stuff knocked off from their sites all the time. They lose a lot of product, a lot of materials. What else? It's portable. Can be installed in less than 10 minutes. No cabling, no power, no phone lines. Instantly reports to your mobile. It's a portable security device run by GPS. It was new to the market. Now, I think you've got the full copy of the letter in the swipe file that we'll give you. And basically, he did his test of 10,000. Because I said, look, if it doesn't work, you get your dollars back. I heard nothing for 3 weeks, which means what? Oh, it worked. He pulled in over 200,000 with the very first fax that went out. I don't even know the final results, so I lost contact with him. I didn't bother chasing him up, to be honest. I didn't want him anymore. But the very first time he's used the copy, he's pulled in over 200,000. What did it cost him to run? $1,500. He was complaining, moaning that he had too many people wanting the demonstration. Couldn't keep up with it. Not a bad problem to have though, is it? But could I target that, run it all by itself? Yes, I could. Now, I did my research, and now I've been around construction sites and done a lot of property development, so I know what happens on building sites. In other words, I had inside knowledge. But I also went on the internet, and I found research, and I found that in a different state, Victoria, they'd had, I think it was, builders had over $100 million worth of stuff stolen from sites, like in the previous 12 months. The fact that it was in a different state was irrelevant. I put it into the copy, because the builder reading it can identify with it all. In other words, they're profiled correctly. It's a one-page letter. I don't know how many millions he's pulled out of it since then. That was 2004. That's the benefits of having a headline with a hook, in this case several hooks, and sent via a fax, which is harder to get done. Have you ever seen direct mail pieces or received one with a grabber on it? Something inside the envelope, something touchy-feely that forces you to open the envelope without throwing it out. Grabbers can work exceptionally well. When you have a grabber, you've got to tie it in. Why have I attached whatever to the top of this letter? Why have I sent you this? Right? You can use those types of statements. Then you start off your letter. As you can see, I've attached XYZ to the top of this letter, the right-hand corner. Why have I done this? Well, there were two reasons. Firstly, I've got something important to tell you. I wanted to make sure I got your attention, so hopefully I've done that. And second, what I'm writing to you about has to do with, in other words, tying your offer, and so much more. I thought that using whatever the grabber is, as an eye catcher was appropriate. Just, in other words, tie in very quickly in those first opening statements why you've attached your grabber in the first place. If you don't, if you go back and look at some of the classic stuff, I know some of Dan's clients have sent cash, like $100 bills, targeting specific clients, straight $100 bills via direct mail. You can use money, you can use hundreds and thousands, you can use string, you can use toys. There's a bit of a list there. Coins, string, money. I've used Band-Aids before when I was targeting business opportunity seekers. The Band-Aid was the fact that you're constantly working for somebody else. Your blood, sweat and tears making the money, but you're hitting your head up against the brick wall till it bleeds. So I tied the Band-Aid into the copy. Candies, lollies, toys, don't do chocolate soaked. If it's summer, they'll melt. But have a think about, with what you're doing or what you may be doing, what sort of grabbers can you add to a direct mail piece that you may send out. You've got the template there, it's simply fill in the blank. But curiosity killed the cat. You get something in the mail that's lumpy, are you going to toss it out unread? It's very adamant. No. And everybody pretty much is the same. That's why it works. Does it cost you more? Sometimes it may cost you more in postage. I know of one direct marketer down under that used paddles. Had miniature paddles made up and sent to all his corporate executives and said, what do you say, are you that far up the creek without a paddle in your business or something like that, you know? But tied it in, something specific, stood out like the proverbial, again. You know, I know Dan Kennedy, some of his stuff, he'll FedEx his stuff. He knows he's competing for business. Or somebody else maybe, there might be 5 people competing for a job, or he's doing it for a client, he'll do something different. He'll FedEx his letter. Gets read, gets opened. But use grabbers, do something different. Don't do what everybody else does. So make a bit of a list in your own time. Think about what you can put on there. Literally, it's endless. Okay. It is time to now start doing your headlines. This is what I would suggest to make it easier. You've got an appendix there of some headlines, some very well proven headlines. Obviously use those to model from. You can take any of those headlines I've written there and knock them off, not a problem. Go back to the different types of headlines. You won't get 50 in this afternoon, right? But start writing and go through the different types of headlines and at least try and write 3 headlines for each type of headline. So 3 news, 3 guarantee headlines. A couple of how-tos, but use also the 101 examples you've got there because they're proven. On your bonus, and some of you got this already, but it's also on the judgment day, you've got the Headline Creator Pro software, which you simply answer 4 questions about your product or service and hit create. It'll come up with about 60 different headlines for you. Now, it's not perfect. It needs some massaging, but it does about 98% of the job to at least get you started. What I like to do is I've done that, then you can add to it. Sorry?
What's the name of it?
Headline Creator Pro. You've got it already. It's in 20 of your bonuses. Okay? But start writing by hand.
Trevor, just a quick word about what's on the resource CD. We have given you a sales letter template and we've given you a headline creator template. They're only there for emergencies. They're only there to give you an idea. There is no substitute for doing what you're doing now, which is writing your headline, writing your copy. I am not a great fan of sales letter templates. Never have been,
no, I hate
never
templates.
will be. But they're there just to give you a kind of a start.
Haven't found a good one yet because you can't. It's a basis though.
Yeah, it
can be a basis to get you over some of that writer's block. For the people that aren't here, sorry?
It's a Headline Creator Pro. I mean, I use it, and yes, they're rather on the crude side where it puts out, but it's also got lists of some very, very useful phrases and words in there.
Yeah, kinetic words and power words.
Yeah, they're really
good for ideas, John. Yeah, very good for
It's
ideas.
a great resource tool. But the thing is, all it's really done, the software's taken of the 300 odd best ever headlines and spits them up from that. It's formulaic. Guess what? Because it works. Don't reinvent the wheel. You know, it's going to be some time before you can write a headline like John Carlton or similar too. I write a lot of long headlines because I can write them with the hooks. Didn't always start that way.
Is he that John's Rant? Is that John Carlton?
Yeah.
Does he still do it?
Yeah. The Rebel Rant.
Rebel Rant.
Rebelrant.com.
Also, too, if you're not on this guy's list, you should be, called Gary Bensavenga. Bensavenga's Bullets. I love his stuff. He's brilliant.
How do you spell that one?
B-E-N...
CIA-B-E-N-G-A.
Bensavenga.
And another chap's list to get on is David Garfinkel. As in Garfunkel, but with an I instead of the U.
Yeah, and if you're not on Peter's and my list, there's something wrong with you, of course.
So we're back to choosing maybe something from the bullet points again too.
You've got to start, yeah, okay. If you've profiled your customer, you've worked on basically what your offer is going to be, you've got to start writing your headlines now. Based on what you've done with your profile and your offer and trying to work on your hook, you've got to start coming up with a headline, a compelling headline. The key is to start. You're not going to get the best headline straight off. This is why you keep doing it and keep using your brain, stimulating your brain as well as your hand to get your headlines. I think it's Bensavenga, like that. Bencivienga, Gary Bensavenga. Bensavenga's Bullets. Otherwise, I mean,
I don't mind having a mic.
we can put you onto it. If you just type in that, it'll come up anyway. Bensavenga's Bullets. He's got a lot of good archived articles. And if you haven't done so as well, go to Gary's site, thegaryhalbertletter.com. There's brilliant copy in there. Brilliant articles, and it's free.
It's still free, is it?
Yeah, still free.
It won't be for long, will it?
No, I doubt it, no.
Well, what I would suggest you do with the Gary Halbert letter is go to the site and download it everywhere.
Yeah.
Before it's taken down.
It'll take some time. But, you know, do it. Read it. Gary was very out there. You may not agree with his stuff. You may think he's crass, whatever. You can't argue with the results.
Broad-minded.
Yeah. Oh, you do there. Seriously. Even just his PS.